thank you all for having me here to talk about Lincolnway. And I'm gonna guess with a show of hands, people know about Lincolnway or have heard about Lincolnway. So a good majority, yeah. As you may know, Pat Hendrickson, the executive director, retired at the end of last year, and I took her spot. So I'm gonna try to do like a 2-minute elevator speech on who I am. So I grew up in Omaha, Nebraska, and was kind of a country girl born in the city by mistake, because my mom was from Southwest Iowa and we had family there. So we went down to the farm all the time, and that was kind of like my escape from the city. So from there I fell in love with agriculture, and I went to Iowa State and go Cyclones, graduated with ag business. And from there I worked at the USDA, the Farm Service Agency, for 11 years. And from there I met Kevin Green, and now I work for Greenview Farms after Lori Green retired. So I'm there now, and I love it. And growing up also, it was very important and instilled in me that giving your time, talent, and treasure was a big deal in our family. So I learned from a very early age that from my parents and growing up, that you give back to your community. So volunteering and being part of community organizations is a big deal for me. So being able to see Lincolnway and the need that needed to be filled, so that kind of just sealed the deal of where I'm at today. So I'm working both at Greenview and then kind of a part-time job at the Lincolnway Community Foundation. I did also bring some of our board of directors. I have with me Roger Hill and Paul Schnack. Roger, would you like to give just a brief history of the Lincolnway Foundation?
Sure. When I was growing up, I worked at the Clinton County Sportsman's Club south of town, and there was a fellow who was quite a claybird shooter. His name was Kelly Fell. At an oil station over here where the chiropractor is across the bowling alley. His wife, Lillian Fell, worked across the street. She was a bookkeeper at Peter's Motors Company. And Lillian came here when she was a little girl. Her father was the railroad agent, depot agent on the Milwaukee Depot, which was behind where St. Joe's is. But I knew Lillian because every year about this time they'd have a picnic at the Sportsman's Club, and this very nicely dressed, nice lady came, and I got to know her. Well, later, then of course I knew her through the bank, and when Lillian passed away, she had no children, and in her will she said she wanted to leave her money to the DeWitt Community Foundation, and if you don't have one, start one. And that was the motivation to start the DeWitt Community Foundation. And then because we deal with, Charlotte and Goose Lake and Lowmore and Welton and Grand Mountain and Calamus and so on, why we became the Lincolnway Foundation, because we are on, of course, the Lincoln Highway. And so that's many things over the years. We've had many people give us money. It's a wonderful vehicle. To another example I'll give you is my predecessor at the bank, John Anderson. John Anderson was at the bank. His wife worked for Dr. Schaefer. Wilma, his sister Barbara Olson, was a farmer. And anyway, when they passed away, each of them owned a sick part of a farm by Welton. And that became the Anderson Family Scholarship. And because it was the way it was set up, when they passed away, there would have been 3 foundations, and we'd had to do 3 tax returns, 3 private foundations. And if a private foundation doesn't distribute 5% of the value, you have to pay something called excise tax. So we did that for a few years, and we actually had to sell 80 acres because we're using up our cash. Because the farm doesn't produce a 5% return. It increases in value, but usually it's closer to 3 or so. But anyway, I got thinking, and so I went to Susan Scora of the Community Foundation in Great River Bend, and so I said, Susan, how do we get away from this excise tax? And she said, well, make us, just transfer it to us, and then we'll do the same thing. It paid out scholarships until 21 years after Barbara's death, as I recall, and then now it's been distributed. But so the Community Foundation was a vehicle, and it worked really, really well. We have lots of endowments that people have left, and Amanda, you can talk about some of those. But like I say, I've been on, I think, since we started, and we've seen a lot of growth in it. we are now an affiliate of the Community Foundation of Greater Dubuque. And they are a part of, they're an Iowa, what did they call it? Iowa Endowment Foundation. So if I set up an endowment with $10,000 or $2,000 or whatever, I can get a reduction of my Iowa income tax because of that donation. And that's because of that, our affiliation with them. And those are just a few of the things we can do. Amanda can tell us about some of the funds that we have, the people that we have all known, many of us have known over the years.
Yeah, so with the Endow Iowa tax credit, not even just establishing an endowment, but even donating to any already established endowment, you can receive that 25% tax credit for your Iowa state income tax. Like Roger said, we kind of grew from just being in DeWitt to our whole entire rural community within Clinton County. So I have a little board over here if anybody cares to look at it later, but we service 12 of the, including DeWitt, 12 rural communities within Clinton County. We don't have, the Great River Bend Endowment Foundation is in Clinton. River Bluff, thank you. I was like, that's not right. I was thinking of the food pantry. Anyway, so that's there, and then Comanche has their own as well. So we try to focus on, I kind of see a lot of similarities between like what the Lions do as far as fundraising and trying to give back to the community. With our endowments, we have a lot that are scholarships that go back into the 3 different school districts, Goose Lake, or Northeast, I'm sorry, the DeWitt Central School District, and then Cowee as well. So there's a lot of that, and then there's just other ones that people find some passion that they have, a project that they want to make sure that endures forever. A great example of that is the DeWitt Veterans Memorial. So the memorial, they raised the funds and they had it all established, but they wanted to make sure that there was going to be a perpetual care for that. So they established an endowment that every year pays out so that they know there's money there to help do repairs, just general maintenance, all of that. So those are some of the things that we can do, or that we do with Lincolnway. I don't know if anybody's been to Delmer lately, but they've done a really awesome job with, they started the splash pad with their Delmer Development Company, and we've helped facilitate that and helped give money back into that that project as a grant through the Lincolnway Community Foundation. They did that. That just kind of generated some energy through the town, and there's so much going on. There's a lot of buzz. I mean, the energy there is just really cool because they have the new Derby restaurant, and he's building a 18-hole miniature golf course that'll be open next year. And that place has ice cream and all sorts of good snacks. And then there's also Beaker's is in the old bank building. That's a new restaurant kind of bar area. So there's just a lot of things going on, and it's just some of that, those original beginnings or those thoughts of like, hey, let's do this, kind of generates that enthusiasm and saying, okay, if they did that, let's do this. And it kind of keeps building on to that. So that's just one of many grants that we've given out through Lincolnway. This year, we gave out $32,000 in grants, and we wish that we could, I'm sure like the Lions wish we had a lot more money to be able to give out or to be able to host programs. So one of the things that we're campaigning for right now is with our Forever Lincolnway, and I think there's brochures on your table from that. There's also a really quick video that's on our website, and I believe our website address is on the back of the brochure. If not, I'll get it to you. So that just gives a good oversight of what Lincolnway has done in the past and what we want to continue to do today and in the future. We want to continue to be able to connect the dots between the causes that matter and the people that have the causes that matter to them most, to connect those together. With Pat Hendrickson had always been a volunteer for the executive director position, and as she was coming towards going, I would like to retire, give this up. How much Lincolnway Community Foundation has grown, they really decided that, hey, we need to make sure that we can have somebody in this position, and we have our expenses paid to run this foundation. So the Forever Lincoln Way Fund is what we're working on now. It's our own endowment that we're working towards a goal of $500,000. We are over halfway there, and we're hoping to finish up by June of 2024. So that's, I don't know if anybody has any questions about that, or with our affiliate through the Community Foundation of Greater Dubuque, they are able to give us what's called the Small Town Dreams Initiative, and we have 3 different phases through that that plan in order to reach our goal of $500,000. So we've already reached the first phase, and we're halfway through the second. Each phase we get to, they have a matching grant of $25,000 that once we get to that phase, we get the $25,000 added back into our fund. So we're working hard towards that. That actually came from an anonymous donor out in the East Coast. I don't know his full story, but he has a connection to rural America and small towns, and he wants small towns to be able to come together and grow and succeed. So that's that Small Towns Dreams Initiative background. Paul, or yes, Don?
I apologize, I have to leave early.
You're
but
fine.
I just wanted to put a couple cents worth in. As mayor, or whatever, anyway, I was on the board, the exec board, for about 12 years or whatever. Then when we were transitioning from the Mississippi Valley to back and forth in Dubuque, it got too burdensome with all the meetings and stuff, so I resigned. I used to stop and think as a person myself, it's like to give money for endowments and stuff, you gotta be really rich. Trust me, I'm not far from rich. But it came to my attention that the fact that after you reach 72 and a half, you have to do a 401k, you have to do an early withdrawal. And so with that, I established 2 scholarships here at the school. And they'll go on long after I'm gone. So it's something that you get an opportunity to give back, plus all the grants and stuff that Amanda had talked about are really, really great for the community. So I know there's a lot of information, a pamphlet there, but I myself, I can give you a personal testimony that it's a good organization, and if you have an opportunity, look at investing in it. So I have a Zoom meeting at 1 o'clock, and I gotta get going, so thanks.
Thank you, Don. Okay, Ty. Yeah, so like Don was saying, you know, it doesn't, you don't have to be rich to start an endowment. You don't have to start your own endowment if you don't feel like it. We have 94 endowments currently underneath our Lincoln Way umbrella, and you can give to any of those funds. So I know we have the Pam Duncan endowment for girls and athletes in the Central Community School District. So a lot of people are like, I want to support that, so they give money to that. That still gives you your 25% Iowa endowment tax credit. And also, it doesn't have to be cash. Like Don said, you can use your retirement, help me with the
Required
word.
minimum distribution.
Thank you very much.
And when you give it that way, Uncle Sam doesn't get half of it.
Correct. There's gifts.
We have an endowment also, Amanda, for a member of our Lions Club. We have the R.A. Polanski endowment, and the income from that goes to support our wrestling program, and that's in Dubuque. And you know, we have sometimes a young man wants to participate in wrestling, and his family, you know, they can't afford to get him the clothing he needs or whatever, the shoes, and the coach can, you know, use those funds for that purpose, or anything going to a special wrestling meet or whatever. And like you say, anytime I give something to that every year, and then you get a letter, and then you get That's reduction of your Iowa income tax.
Yeah, also you can use your life insurance, transfer of stocks, gifts of
Appreciated
grain.
stock,
Yeah,
You can donate appreciated stock, get the
Yes.
share reduction, and not have to pay the capital gain.
correct. So there's ways to donate to benefit you and others, so. Are there any questions at all? Does anybody have?
Talk about the annual meeting.
Yes, so our annual meeting is coming up. It's on Monday, November 7th. It starts at 5:30 at the Opera House Theater. So we'll have a little social hour starting at 5:30, and then our program will start at 6. There we took applications for the Nonprofit of the Year Award. So we had 13 applications, and we're going to recognize all of them and then award 3 of them $500 each. We'll also talk about, there's a Spotlight Awards, and we're gonna recognize our Asset Awareness Committee. That committee is actually made up of a representative from all of the towns that we serve, and we just get together every other month. It's a Zoom meeting. We talk about what's going on, what's happening in the towns, how, just sharing ideas, and then kind of helping support each other and publicize different events that are going on. So it's gonna be a fun but short meeting, so we should be wrapped up by 7. So everybody is invited to attend that as well. So Monday, November 7th at 5:30. So at the Opera House, so I hope to see some of you there, or all. So. All right, thank you very much.